Hey yogis, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a posture clinic on the pose Trikonasana, also known as triangle pose. And I'll be sharing everything you need to know about this pose, different variations, and how to use a block to make it more accessible. So make sure you have a block handy, and let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I would like to talk about is the variations you might see on this posture depending on which class you might be in. Specifically talking about Ashtanga, Iyengar, and Bikram. These postures do tend to look very different depending on which of those classes you might be taking. So we're really going to dive in and break down each individual one. So let's go ahead and get started with Ashtanga version of Trikonasana. So usually we start at the front of the mat, stepping the right foot back. You're going to turn all 10 toes out towards the right. And so we're really pivoting on this back foot. So this back foot should be out in a 45-degree angle. Now if you look down at your feet, you should have heel to arch alignment. Sometimes you'll see this as heel to heel, heel to arch. It really just depends on where you sit fast in your hips. Some people have more length or more width within their hips, and some people are more narrow. So you'll kind of have to do a little trial and error to figure out what feels best for you. For me, I like to do my front heel on my right foot in line with the instep of the back foot. Once you're there, you really want to dig your feet down and towards the ground and engage your legs. If you tend to have hypermobility within your knees like I do, I tend to lock out my knees. Over time, it can be quite stressful on the joint. So you want to try to find a balance between really extending out to the legs but not locking out the knees. So just keeping the knees a little bit soft. From here, you extend the arms out. Now, a lot of mistakes that people make when they start to move into their Trikonasana is they dump into the right side of their body, which we not only want to work on creating length on the left side, but we also want to create length in the right side as well. So we want to get out of the habit of collapsing into the right ribs. So extending the arms out, you want to inhale, lengthen out through the spine, look out past your right middle finger, and on your exhale, you're going to shift the hips slightly towards the left and allow the body to lean towards the right. Now again, without collapsing and dumping in the right side of the body, we're going to keep that length, taking the right hand down. You can start higher on the leg, and then pulling that top shoulder blade back and looking up towards the left thumb. Now, depending on your flexibility, this might be where you're good, and you stay here, you take 5 breaths. If you have a little more flexibility, you start to slide the right hand down, grabbing a hold of that big toe. Now, when they're in this posture, you'll tend to see, depending on tightness, the left shoulder kind of rounds forward, the pelvis presses back. We're really trying to work against that, where you're pressing that left hip bone so that it aligns directly over the right. And you also want to check on the ribs. So a lot of times we tend to open the ribs here. We really want to pull that in and keep the body in this nice plane here. So pushing the feet down, wrapping the left hip back. Make sure you're not crunching into the neck. You also want to find length into the neck. And after 5 breaths, you're going to wait for your inhale, look down, press the foot, rise up. We switch out the feet, so you put the right foot in. The left foot points up. Once again, digging your feet down to the ground, engaging your legs, keeping a little micro bend into the knees. Inhale, create length in the spine. Exhale, start to shift the upper body forward. The hips go out towards the right. And then drop that left hand down. Always starting a little bit softer in this pose. Pressing the right hip back, looking up. If you have more flexibility, taking the peace fingers, it's going to be the pointer finger, the middle finger, reaching down, grabbing hold of the big toe, pressing once again that top hip back, pulling the ribs in, keeping space in the left side of the ribs, right arm up, look up towards the thumb, 5 breaths. When you're breathing, you should be using your Ujjayi breathing, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose while closing up the back of your throat. After 5 breaths, wait for your inhale, look down, press through your feet, use your core to come up, and step back towards the front of the mat. Now, depending on if this is really tight for you, if you feel a lot happening into your lower back and it's almost a little too much, or a lot into the hamstrings, we're going to use the block. So, once again, starting at the top of your mat, having your block handy, taking a step out to the right, pivoting your left heel in, your right toes out. Now from here, if I need a little bit more height, I'm going to take the block I could decide where I want to go on the block. I can go the tallest, I can go shorter, or bring it even down a little lower. So I'm going to take that right inside of my foot. Once again, establishing long legs, arms out, inhaling, creating space into the ribs, into the spine. Exhale, shifting, right hand down, left arm up. Continue to keep pressing the left hip back. Gazing up towards the thumb for 5 breaths. Looking down if you're ready to come up. Pressing, switching sides, taking your block, switch your feet. Right heel turns in, left leg goes long. Placing the block just inside the left foot, arms out, inhale to prepare. Exhale, taking the left hand down, pressing the top hip back, looking up towards your thumb. And also you want to keep in mind that the alignment, we want the right wrist over the right shoulder, over the left shoulder, over the left wrist. So if you look, this should be a nice straight line. After 5 breaths, look down, use your inhale, press, rise up, and step back towards the front of your mat. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Iyengar version of this posture. So one of the main differences versus the Ashtanga version to the Iyengar version is our stance is going to be a lot longer. So if we take a step out to the right, we're going to go with a much longer stance this time. Same position in the feet, so I'm going to turn the right foot out, the left heel in, and really press the legs straight. Now there's no right or wrong, this is just going to be different lineages of this posture. So depending on what class you're in, or really what depends on what feels best for your body, that's the one you're going to work with. Or take a little bit from each version of this pose. Okay, so I practice all 3 on a regular basis. So I have my front heel in line with the inside of the back foot. Again, it can be heel to heel alignment as well. Staying the arms out, everything else is going to be the same, except instead of taking this right hand down inside the foot, it's going to move back a little bit so we still have the alignment of the hands, shoulders, and the bottom hand all in line. So we're going to inhale here. On the exhale, moving into it the same way, but this time we're going to take that hand a little bit further back so it stays underneath the shoulder. Everything else remains the same. Pressing the legs strong, wrapping the left hip bone back. Make sure you're not collapsing the bottom shoulder or the bottom ribs. You want to really keep working on pressing that up, pulling the navel back, pulling the ribs in and out. 5 breaths. After 5 breaths, you look down, press through the feet, use your core transition up, switch out the feet. Keep the long distance here, inhaling to prepare. Exhale, taking the left hand down to be directly underneath the shoulder. Remember, you can also use your block here. Looking up towards your top thumb. Really work, press the right hip back, the right ribs pull in, the right shoulder moves back. 5 breaths. After 5 breaths, use your inhale. Come back up and step back towards the front of your mat. So the last version of this pose that I want to talk about is the Bikram version. So this is the one that's going to be the most different, I think, from the other 2. So let's go ahead and get into that. So once again, starting at the front of your mat, stepping off to the right, turning the right toes off to the right, pivoting the left heel in. So if you notice, the feet are the same position as all the other postures. But the difference with the Bikram version is we're going to bend into that front knee, almost like we're going for a warrior 2 position. So we're going to sink down. You want that right knee directly over that right heel, pushing down through your feet, belly pulling in, arms out. Now from here, we're going to turn the palms forward. We're going to switch the arms. So the right arm is going to go down while the left arm goes up. So you'll still see a triangle position once I get here, just done a little bit differently. So I'm going to inhale here, and then exhale. I'm going to take my middle finger. I'm going to work to slide it directly in between my first and second toe. So on the exhale, sliding the right arm down, taking it in between the toe, and then wrapping the left shoulder blade back. Still trying to keep space into the right side of the ribs. Pressing the left hip bone back. Taking about 5 breaths when you're here. Whenever you're ready to transition, inhale, press down to the right foot, rise up, pivot your right toes in, left toes out. Take a deep bend into the left knee until you get that knee directly over the ankle. Once you're there, palms forward, switch your hands, left arm down, right arm up. On your next exhale, start to slide that left hand down in between the first and second toe. Press the right hip bone back. Look up towards the right thumb. 5 breaths. After 5 breaths, press down through the foot. Come all the way up. Turn all toes in, and then step towards the front of your mat. So keep in mind, if in this version of the posture, trying to get your finger right in between your first and second toe, if that is not accessible, let me go ahead and show you what you can do instead. So let's go ahead and try that pose again. So taking a step out to the right, long distance between your feet. Turn all 10 toes towards the right, both legs nice and long. Arms out, deep bend into the right knee, toes directly over that right heel, switching the arms. Now remember, keeping in mind, if the middle finger won't get in between the first and second toe, what you can always do is come back a little bit, press the back of the right arm into the right knee, and really use that to open up the right hip and look up towards the left hand. So keep in mind, you don't have to go all the way down to the floor in this posture. It's just not quite accessible at this time. Use your inhale, coming up, switch the feet. Deep bend into the left knee, moving the hands, sliding the left arm inside the left leg, right arm up, looking up. If that's still too challenging, just take that left arm onto the left thigh and use that to press. Using your inhale, rising up, stepping back to the front of your mat. Okay, so last thing we're going to be talking about is Revolved Trikanasana, or Revolved Trikanasana. So I'll show you a technique that I like to use, which has made this a little bit more accessible for me. Let's go into the Ashtanga version of Trikonasana first. So taking a step out to the right, turning all 10 toes towards the right, pivoting on that back foot. Now, what I notice a lot of times is people go right into the twist, and it's really hard to open into the twist from there because you've gone from such a closed position, if that makes sense. So most of the time what I see is they move right into the twist, they get here, and then they try to straighten out, okay? And really open their body into the twist, and it's just a little harder that way. So let's follow through the technique that I like to use. So arms up, inhale here. On the exhale, rotate your upper body completely towards the right until you can't twist anymore. So we're already kind of working our way into our twist before we get into the actual pose. Keep holding the right shoulder blade back, left shoulder blade forward, and then with your next exhale, take the left hand down on the outside of the foot, press the right hip bone back, and look up towards the right thumb. Now same thing, take about 5 breaths. Remember, you can use your block here if the ground feels a little far away. After 5 breaths, with your inhale, press down to your feet, use your core, rise up. Coming back, switching the feet. Right heel in, left toes out. Inhale first. Exhale, rotate completely towards the left, going as far as you can. And then with your next exhale, take the right hand down outside of that left foot. Press the left hip bone back. Open up space between the ribs. Look up towards the left thumb. 5 breaths. After 5 breaths, look down, use your inhale, rise up, press down to your feet, use your core, unwind, and then step back towards the front of your mat. Iyengar version of Revolved Trikanasana, or Revolved Trikanasana. So once again, going to be very much the same. So taking a step out to the right, turning all 10 toes towards the right. But remember, this time we're going to take a little bit of a longer stance than we did before. Extend the legs. Arms out. Start to rotate towards the right. Take the left hand down outside the foot. Right arm up. Now remember, we still want to try to make sure that the hands and shoulders are all in one line. Keep pressing the right hip bone back. No hyperextension into the knees. After 5 breaths, use your inhale. Press down to your feet. Rise up, unwind, switch the feet. Turn the upper body completely. Take the right hand down, left arm up. After 5 breaths, wait for your inhale, unwind, step back to the front. Now in the Bikram version of this posture, I've never seen them do it revolved, Trikanasana, so I can't really speak too much about that. Normally in most of the 26 and 2s classes, unless they're changing things up a little bit, this is usually the version of Trikonasana, really the only version I've seen that they teach. So let's go ahead and talk about the benefits of this posture. First thing I want to talk about is the extension in the side body. So it really helps to stretch out the muscles in the side of the ribs, in the intercostals, in between the ribs, and also the QL into the lower back. This posture is also going to really help to open up the chest and really dive deep into the core muscles, especially if you're really relying on your core muscles when you're transitioning in and out of the posture. So diving into the benefits of Revolved Trikanasana. So because it's a twist, and you really feel the twist a lot happening into the stomach, you can think about this a little bit like you have a rag that's filled with water, and when you're twisting, you're kind of like squeezing out the water. So you're kind of cleansing the body. So when we create that twist, it really helps to detoxify the core. So you'll feel the organs they get massaged a little bit. You know, your body's going to send fresh blood flow. It helps to kind of release any stagnant blood into that area. So it can end up being very healthy for any stagnation into your stomach. You'll also feel that twisting really helps to release any tightness within the lower back. They say about 80% of adult Americans have compression in their lower back, and so this is really a good stretch to help release in the lower back. Of course, if you have any lower back issues, you really want to go very mindfully and make sure your body is warmed up before you work into this pose. Feel free to use blocks and back off as you need to. It also helps with external rotation of the hips and building core strength, especially if you're really using your core when you're doing the transition in and out of this posture. Always make sure when you're working in and out of this posture, go really slow and take your time really finding your alignment. Well, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you get notifications when I come out with more videos like this. If you have any questions about this video, feel free to put them in the comment box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Namaste.